Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. My name is James Collins. I'm 49 years old and I'm a regular realtor. My wife Sarah and I have been married for 24 years and have a 20-year-old son in college. We live in an affluent neighborhood in Montreal, Canada, and live a seemingly perfect life. But the truth is far from being as good as it seems. I'm sick of going to Montreal tennis club parties. Every few weeks, they find every excuse to throw a party and get a bunch of rich people together to show off. Sarah seems to look forward to these events, but unfortunately, over the past year or so, she has started drinking heavily, sometimes to the point of embarrassing herself or me. I met Sarah while working on my MBA, and we hit it off from the start. But about 10 years ago, things started to go cold between us. I want more love and intimacy from her, but I don't want to force her. I had almost resigned myself to the fact that there would be no more romance for the rest of my life. I have a good job and make a good income. Paying for our son's college education cost us a large chunk of our savings, but we are still well off. Sarah doesn't need to work and doesn't want to work. She spends her time at community events and socializing. My income is necessary to keep it all going. For her age, Sarah still looks great, thanks in large part to her regular visits to spas and salons. I'm a pretty ordinary guy by comparison, with a bit of belly fat and some gray hair on my temples. Because of my job and Sarah's love of shopping, I was fairly well dressed. I'm doing well at my job, but not really happy. I'm ready to try something new, something I enjoy and don't have to worry too much about the paycheck. I also want to move somewhere else. The house is too big for the two of us and I hate the cost and time it takes to maintain it. But Sarah won't even discuss these ideas. All she wants is her big house, tennis club, and rich friends. At one such gathering, I was hanging out in the club, occasionally joining in on some of the boring banter. It was late at night and I hadn't had a drink in over an hour. Sarah, on the other hand, had just perked up, and it looked like she'd had a little more to drink than usual. I heard Sarah say in a louder voice than usual, "God, if it wasn't for Eric Wilson, I would never have had good sex in my life." The crowd suddenly fell silent. Some of the ladies noticed me standing nearby. Sarah turned around and saw me. Excessive alcohol clearly impaired her judgment. "James, I didn't know you were here. You weren't supposed to hear that, honey. I'm sorry, it's my fault." She proceeded to let out a drunken giggle like a little girl. I put my glass on a nearby table and slowly left the room and the club. Instead of going home, I went to the airport and 30 minutes later boarded a flight to Ottawa. I turned off my cell phone and easily booked a room at a casino hotel. I opened a 20,000 Canadian dollar account there. The interesting thing about casino accounts is that because they are not banks, they are not subject to federal regulations and do not have to report to the government. I have no interest in any type of gambling, but I do like their banking setup. When I woke up, it was noon on Saturday. I analyzed my situation as I ate my burger and fries. I love Ottawa with its pleasant climate and amenities. I'm not planning on getting divorced here, but I might want to throw my ring in the Ottawa River at some point down the road. On the way back to the hotel, I passed a realtor's office and suddenly had the idea of buying a condo in Ottawa. I spent hours looking at properties and finally found a small, fully furnished unit that I really liked. The thing is, I can't buy a house while I'm married. Fortunately, I managed to work out a discreet rent-to-own agreement with the landlord by paying a large deposit. One of the best decisions I made early in my marriage was to manage and control my family's finances by myself. Sarah knows nothing about numbers or banking. She is more than happy to let me pay the bills whenever she can spend the money. That night, before going to bed, I treated myself to a nice sushi dinner. I deposited another 10,000 Canadian dollars into my casino account. I hate paying cash advance fees, but I guess it's worth it in this case. The next morning, I got up early and had breakfast in the casino's dining room. I was sipping my second cup of coffee when I noticed my waitress had a large bruise on her face. She tried to brush her hair forward to cover it, but it didn't work. She's a beautiful woman in her 40s named Lily. I watched her go from table to table, trying her best to make everyone happy. "What happened to your eye?" I couldn't help but ask. Lily hesitated, then said softly, My husband? He sometimes loses his temper. But it's okay. I'm used to it. I felt a surge of anger and sympathy. No one should get used to this sort of thing, I said. And you should leave him? Lily laughed bitterly. Easier said than done. I don't have anywhere to go. That was the end of our conversation, but Lily's situation stayed with me for a long time. I want to help her, but my own life is a mess. I spent a few more days in Ottawa thinking about what to do next. I knew I couldn't hide here forever, that I needed to face reality and deal with my issues with Sarah. But first, I need to protect my assets. I spent a few days opening accounts at different casinos and spreading my money around. I bought a small notepad and wrote down the amount, date, and name of the casino for each deposit. This is a record of the money I lost gambling over the weekend. Of course, I haven't gambled a dime, but who would question it? After making sure my money was safe, I decided to go back to Montreal and face reality. I don't know what awaits me, but I know I can't keep running away like this. With some trepidation, I boarded the plane home. When I got back to Montreal, I didn't go straight home. I went to my lawyer buddy Nathan's office first. Nathan and I went to college together, and we've kept in touch. He never liked Sarah, and I thought he was the best person to handle my divorce. James, I heard about the tennis club. As soon as Nathan saw me, he said, I guess you're here to talk about the divorce? I nodded. You guessed it. Things have come to a point where they can't be undone. I'll need access to all your accounts and a couple of power of attorney. Nathan said, I'll have my assistant prepare everything and call you. Is there anything else in particular I should be aware of? I hesitated, then said, Nathan, I'm afraid that what happened the other night at the tennis club has triggered something in me. I realized that I've become addicted to gambling. I spent the entire weekend in Ottawa and lost thousands of Canadian dollars. I'm going back next weekend, and I'm worried it's going to get worse. Nathan's face broke into a knowing grin. Geez, man, that's terrible. I'm guessing you kept a record or documentation of all those losses. Yes, I will. I guess I'd better send you all the copies. I said, sure. You know, James, I don't think we should talk about this anymore, do you? Nathan said meaningfully. I got his hint. You're right. Do you need anything else? I'm fine, James. Get the hell out of here and go take care of your business. Take this financial worksheet with you. Fill it out and bring it back tomorrow when you come to sign those forms. After leaving Nathan's office, I went to the office. My secretary, Emma, has prepared a profile of Eric Wilson for me. Emma suggested that I talk to Margaret Brown in HR before I do anything. Margaret was a serious woman who ran a tight ship and did a great job. She always wore professional suits and her hair was always immaculately combed. Her confidence made her seem a bit intimidating to anyone. Good afternoon, Mr. Collins. Please be seated, Margaret said. Emma briefed me on the situation. I don't get involved in office gossip, but I do deal in facts. 3 years ago, Eric Wilson approached me privately. I swore I wouldn't tell anyone what we discussed at the time. But now it looks like I won't be able to keep that promise. Margaret went on to tell me that about 3.5 years ago, Sarah approached Eric Wilson at a corporate event. Everyone had a lot to drink that night and Sarah and Eric had sex. Eric was about to get married at the time, and Sarah threatened to tell his fiancée about it if he didn't continue to have sex with her. Eric had hoped that after he got married, Sarah would leave him alone. But she didn't. She forced him to have sex with her for months on end and used it as a threat. Driven by desperation, he came to me for help. Margaret said, the best thing I could think of was to transfer Eric to another office. After he relocated to Vancouver, Sarah never bothered him again. After hearing Margaret's words, I felt both shocked and angry. I was contemplating some form of retaliation against Eric, but now it seems he's as much a victim as I am. Thank you for telling me that, Ms. Brown. I said, I guess I should just let this go. Eric is a great employee and a valuable asset to the company. He shouldn't be ruined because of what my wife did. After leaving Margaret's office, I began to reorganize my work. I had Emma cancel all my appointments and meetings. I also told her not to answer the phone if Sarah called and not to let her into the building. Over the next few days, I was busy dealing with various legal and financial issues. I cashed out my retirement plan and closed my 401k account and shared savings account. I also cashed in my sick leave, annual leave, and company insurance. By this time, Word had spread that I had left the company. I hope Sarah doesn't find out until I'm done with this. But it wasn't to be, and when I went to the office for the last time, Sarah was waiting for me in the parking lot. "James, what the hell are you up to?" she questioned. "Why aren't you answering my calls? Why did you cancel my credit card?" I looked at her calmly. "Sarah, we both know why. Our marriage is over." Sarah's face changed. "You can't do this. You think you can just dump me and run off with all the money?" "I didn't take all the money," I said, "but I'm not going to let you squander all my hard-earned money either." Sarah suddenly smiled. It was a chilling smile. "You think you're so smart, don't you? You don't know what I can do. You're going to regret this, James." I ignored her threats and just got in my car and left. But Sarah's words disturbed me. I didn't know what she would do, but I knew I needed to stay alert. That night, I returned to my apartment in Ottawa. I need time to think about what I plan to do next. I knew divorce wouldn't be a simple process, but I didn't expect things to get so complicated. Just as I was thinking about all this, my cell phone rang. It's an unfamiliar number. "Hello?" I picked up the phone. "James." It was Lily's voice. I need help." Lily sounded scared. I immediately sat up straight and asked, "Lily, what's wrong? Are you okay?" "My husband. He found out I was trying to leave him. He threatened to kill me. I'm at a gas station now, and I don't know where to go." Lily's voice was shaking. Without much thought, I said, "Tell me where you are, and I'll come and get you right away." Lily gave me the address, and I drove off immediately. An hour later, I found Lily at the gas station. She looked scared and had a few more bruises on her face. I helped her put her bags in the car, and we left. "Where are we going?" Lily asked. "Go back to my apartment first," I said, "and then we'll figure it out." When we got back to the apartment, I prepared a cup of hot tea for Lily and told her to sit down and relax. I felt a surge of anger as I looked at her tired face. "No one deserves to be treated this way." "Thank you, James," Lily said softly. "I didn't know who else to call for help." "You did the right thing," I reassured her. "Now you're safe. We'll figure it out." Just then, my cell phone rang again. "It's Nathan." "James, I've got bad news." Nathan's voice was serious. "Sarah made a big deal out of it. She found bank accounts and other stuff after she called the police. She filed a restraining order against everything in the world. All your accounts are frozen, even though they're empty. You can't go near her or the house. You can't take anything from the house. You can't even contact your son, even though he's a legal adult." I felt a wave of vertigo. God, Nathan, how could she do that? "And to make matters worse," Nathan continued, "she contacted the Canadian Securities Administrators and reported your retirement account. Somehow, she's also gotten the Canada Revenue Agency involved in investigating the matter." I took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. "So what do I do now?" "Honestly, James, it's a tricky situation," Nathan said. "And it's going to cost you a lot of time and money if you try to take care of everything. Plus, Sarah's hired a private investigator to track you down." I glanced at Lily, who was looking at me worriedly. I knew I couldn't just give up. "Nathan, I don't want any part of this. I'm withdrawing. Do you understand?" I said. There was silence on the other end of the line for a moment. Then Nathan said, "I understand, James. But remember, if the police or the FBI ask me where you are, I have to tell them. I'm not going to risk my career for you, even if we are friends." "I understand, Nathan. Thanks for everything." I hung up. Lily looked at me with worry in her eyes. "What happened, James?" I briefly explained the situation. Lily listened, was silent for a moment, and then said, "It seems we're all running from something." I laughed bitterly. "Yeah, it seems so." We sat there in deep thought. Suddenly, I had an idea. "Lily, do you have a passport?" I asked. She nodded. "Yes, in my bag." "Would you like to leave Canada for a while?" I asked. Lily's eyes lit up. "You mean?" "Yes," I said. "We can leave together, at least temporarily. I have some money stashed away in a casino account. We can take it out and go to a new place and start over." Lily hesitated. "But what about your son?" I sighed. "He's an adult. I'll leave him a message explaining the situation. I'll contact him when things settle down." "Are you sure you want to do this?" Lily asks. "You're willing to give up everything to help me?" I looked her in the eyes. Lily, I've lost a lot, but maybe this is a chance for us all to start over. We can help each other. Lily's eyes glistened with tears. Thank you, James. I don't know what to say. Then let's not talk about it, I said with a smile. Let's start planning. Over the next few hours, we made plans. We decided to go to the US first and then decide where to go next. I contacted a couple of casinos and arranged to have my money taken out. We left early the next morning. We drove to a different casino first and took out all my money. Then we headed to the border to prepare to enter the United States. Just as we were nearing the border, I noticed a car behind us that had been following us. Lily, I said, lowering my voice, don't turn around. I think we're being followed. Lily's face turned pale. Is it my husband? I'm not sure, I said, but we've got to lose them. I accelerated off the main road and turned into a side road. The car behind us followed. My heart was racing and my palms were sweating. We can't get caught here, not when we're about to start a new life. I glanced at Lily and she was looking at me. For all we know, this could be our last chance. Whoever's behind us, we have to get rid of them. I took a deep breath and hit the gas. The car sped on and our escapade began in earnest. We sped down the winding country roads with the car behind us in hot pursuit. Lily clutched at her seat, her face pale. I was fully focused on the road ahead, my palms sweating from nerves. Suddenly, I saw a fork in the road ahead. I had an idea and said to Lily, hold on tight. I swerved violently to the right side of the trail, turning off my headlights at the same time. The car behind them, apparently not anticipating the move, went straight across the turnoff. We ducked into a grove of trees and waited, holding our breath. A few minutes later, we heard the car turn back. It slowly passed by where we were hiding, and then the sound faded away. We waited another 10 minutes to make sure it was safe before restarting the car. We lost them. I breathed a sigh of relief. Are you okay, Lily? Lily nodded, though her hands were still shaking slightly. Yes, I'm fine. James, you're amazing. I smiled. Thank you. Now, let's continue our journey. We changed our plans and decided not to enter the United States through the nearest border crossing. We traveled west with the intention of entering through a smaller border station. After a couple hours of traveling, we finally arrived at our destination. Fortunately, the border check went well. We made up a story about a vacation to the US, and the customs officials didn't seem suspicious. We all breathed a sigh of relief when we finally made it into the United States. We're free, Lily whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. I took her hand. Yes, we are free. Now, let's find a place to rest and then decide where to go next. We found a motel in a nearby town. While checking in, I noticed the front desk employee looking at us a little strangely. That's when I realized that the bruise on Lily's face might have caught his attention. When we got back to the room, I said to Lily, we need to be more careful. Your injuries might draw attention to you. Lily nodded. You're right. Maybe we should get some makeup to cover it up. The next morning, we bought some essentials, including makeup and some clothes. We also purchased some disposable cell phones so that we can safely contact those who need to be contacted. I sent a text message to my son Jack, briefly explaining the situation, telling him I was safe and for him not to worry. Then we continued traveling west, aiming for California. Over the next few weeks, we moved carefully, constantly changing our route in case someone was tracking us. We stayed in small hotels and paid for everything in cash. Slowly, we began to relax and enjoy this newfound freedom. Lily's wounds are gradually healing and her smile is growing. I found myself enjoying her company more and more. We talked, laughed, and shared each other's stories. We find a strange kind of peace in this frantic escapade. Eventually, we arrived in Los Angeles. On a sunny afternoon, we sat on the beach and watched the waves of the Pacific Ocean lap against the shore. What are we going to do next? Lily asked. I thought for a moment. I think we should settle down first. Maybe we can find a town and start our lives over. Lily nodded. That sounds good. But James, don't you regret it? You lost so much to help me. I looked her in the eyes. Lily, I have no regrets. In fact, I feel like I'm truly alive for the first time in years. We all deserve a better life, and now we have the opportunity to create it. Just then, My cell phone rang. It's an unfamiliar number. After a moment's hesitation, I answered the phone. Hello? James? It was Nathan's voice. I have good news for you. It turns out that what Sarah did eventually backfired on her. She is suspected of fraud and document forgery and is now facing criminal charges. All charges against me were dropped and my account was unfrozen. You can come back, James, Nathan said. It's over. I looked at Lily, who was looking at me with concern. I thought for a moment, then said to Nathan, Thank you, Nathan, but I don't think I'm going back. I've found a new life here, a new beginning. After hanging up the phone, I told Lily the situation. She looked at me in surprise. Are you sure you don't want to go back? I shook my head. No, I don't want to go back. Unless you want to go back to Canada? Lily smiled. No, I don't want to go back either. So, we'll start a new life here? Yes, I said. We're starting a new life here. Together. We smiled at each other, then turned and continued to watch the waves. The sun was slowly sinking in the west, and the sky was colored a brilliant orange-red. It's an end and a beginning. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that as long as I have Lily by my side, I have the courage to face everything. On this California beach, we started a new chapter in our lives. Our past may have been scarred at one time or another, but the future is full of endless possibilities. We've finally found our happiness, and that, in a nutshell, is the answer we've been looking for. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.